Hello everyone, I am Pransu Singh and today I will explain you guys about the IEE standards, especially about the IEEE 802.3 standards. So before getting into the IEE standards, let's get a quick introduction. So what is IEEE? IEEE stands for the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. The IEEE is a professional association that develops, defines, and reviews the electronics and computer science standards. IEEE is the world's largest professional association for engineering and dedicated to advancing technological innovations and excellence for the benefit of humanity. It is an organization officially formed in 1964 by the merging of two of the great organizations of the time, that is AIEE and IRE. It is composed of many technical societies, including computer societies and many more. Now, what is IEEE 802 standards? IEEE 802 network standards are restricted to networks carrying variable size packets. The services and the protocols that are specified in IEEE 802 map to the lower two layers, that is the data link layer and the physical layers of the OSI models. IEEE 802 is a family of Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, that is IEEE, standards for local area networks, personal area networks, and metropolitan area networks. The IEEE 802 Standards Committee maintains these standards. The IEEE 802 family of standards has 12 members, that is numbered from 802.1 to 802.12. The IEEE 802 standards are restricted to computer networks carrying variable size packets, unlike of cell relay networks, for example, in which data is transmitted in short uniformly sized units called cells. IEEE 802 is a collection of networking standards that cover physical and data link layer specifications for technologies such as Ethernet and wireless. These specifications apply to local area network and metropolitan area networks. IEEE 802 also aids to the ensuring multi-vendor interoperability by purporting standards for vendors to follow. Essentially, the IEEE 802 standards help to make sure that the internet services and technologies follow a set of recommended practices so that the network devices can all work together smoothly. The most widely used IEEE 802 standards are for Ethernet, bridging, and virtual bridged LANs and wireless LAN with dedicated working group and providing for each area. So now let's discuss what is an OSI. The OSI stands for Open System Interconnection. The OSI models is a conceptual framework used to describe the functions of a networking system. The OSI model characterizes the computing functions into a universal set of rules and requirements in order to support the interoperability between the different products and the software. In the OSI reference model, the communication between a computing systems are split into 7 different layers, that is the physical layer, data link layer, network and transportation layer, presentation and application layer. OSI reference model, the communication between a computing system are split into 7 different abstraction layers. Now, here you can see how this OSI model is divided. So, the lowest level is the physical layer, and upon that there is a data link layer, followed by network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and the application layer. So these three, that is the application layer, presentation layer, and session layer, are called the software layers. The transport layer is called the heart of the OSI, and these three, the below three, the network layer, the data link layer, and the physical layer, are known as hardware layers. So let's briefly describe that each layer. First comes to the physical layer. This is the lowest layer of the OSI reference model. It is responsible for the actual physical connection between the devices. The physical layers contains the information in the form of bits. Now, let's discuss about the data link layer. The data link layer is responsible for the node-to-node delivery of the messages. The main function of this layer is to make sure that the data transfer is error-free from one node to another over the physical layer. When a packet arrives in a network, it is the responsibility of the DLL to transmit it to the host using its MAC address. Now, let's come to the network layer. The network layers works for the transmission of data from one host to the other located in different networks. It also takes care of the packet routing, that is, it chooses the selection of the shortest path to transmit the packet from the number of routes available. The senders and the receiver's IP addresses are placed in the header of the network layer. The transport layer provides the services to the application layer, and it takes the services from the network layer. The data in the transport layer is referred to as segments. It is responsible for the end-to-end delivery of the complete messages. Now, let's see about the session layers. The session layer is responsible for the establishment of the connections, its maintenance of its sessions, its authentications, and also it ensures security. Now, let's discuss about the presentation layer. Presentation layers allows you to define the form in which the data is to exchange between the two communicating entities. It also helps you to handle the data compressions and the data encryption. Down the last, that is the application layer, it interacts with the application program, which is the highest level of the OSI model. The application layer is the OSI layer which is closest to end user. It means the OSI application layer allows the user to interact with the other software systems. Now, the IEEE have subdivided the data link layer into two sublayers, that is the logical layers and their medium access control. Here you can see that the data link layer is between the network layer and the physical layer, and the data link layer has the LLC sublayer as the topmost layer and the MAC sublayer as the bottommost layer for the data link layer. So let's know about what is logical link control, that is LLC. It is the upper sublayer of the data link layer of the open system interconnections reference model for the data transmission. It acts as an interference between the network layers and the medium access control sublayer of the data link layer. The logical link control is mainly used for its multiplexing property. It also allows the several network protocols to operate simultaneously within a multi-point networks over a same network medium. So, the primary function of LLC is to multiplex protocols over the MAC layer while transmitting, and likewise to do demultiplex the protocols while receiving. Logical link control provides the hop-to-hop flow and error control. It allows multi-point communications over a computer network. The frame sequence numbers are assigned by the logical link control. In case of acknowledged services, it tracks the acknowledgement. Now, let's discuss about what is MAC. MAC stands for Media Access Control. It is a network data transfer policy that determines how data is transmitted between the two computer terminals through a network cable. The Media Access Control policy involves sublayers of the data link layer 2 in the OSI reference model. The essence of MAC protocol is to ensure non-collision and eases the transfer of the data packets between two computer terminals. A collision takes place when two or more terminals transmit data or information simultaneously. This leads to a breakdown of communication, which can provide costly for organizations that can lean heavily on data transmission. So let's discuss how it works. So when a computer wants to transmit a frame, it listens for a frame on the cable. If busy, the computer waits for random times and attempts the transmission again. This is known as the carrier sense. If the cable is quiet, the computer begins to transmit. Two computers can transmit at the same time. So to prevent this happening, the transmitting computer listens to what it is sending. If what it hears is different to what it's sending, then collision has occurred. This is known as collision detection. when a computer wants to receive the frame, it listens all the frame traveling on the cable. And if the frame address is same as the computer address or same as the group address of the computer of which it is a member, it copies the frame from the cable. Otherwise, it just ignores it. So, the basic idea is when a station has a frame to transmit, it listens to the data transmissions on the cable. When the medium is quiet, that is, no other station is on transmission, it transmits the frame and listens for the collision. If the collision is heard, it stops transmitting, it waits for some time and it transmits again. So let's discuss about the groups of IEEE 802 standards. The working groups are the different areas of focus within the 802 specifications. They are numbered from 802 from and onward. For example, 802.1 is used for bridging purpose, 802.2 is used as a logical links, 802.3 is used as Ethernet lens. Now, let's discuss about IEEE 802.3 standard. The IEEE 802.3 standard defines the physical layers and the MAC sublayer of the data link layer of wired Ethernet. The IEEE 802.3 uses as a carrier sense multiple access with collision detection, which is also known as CSMA/CD. It accesses at a variety of speeds over a variety of physical media. The IEEE 802.3 standard covers over 10 MB per second Ethernet. So, let's discuss what is collision detection. It is a network protocol for the carrier transmission that operates in the medium access control. It senses or listens whether the shared channel for transmission is busy or not, and it defers the transmission until the channel is free. The algorithm for it is when a frame is ready, the transmitting station checks whether the channel is idle or busy. If the channel is busy, the station waits until the channel becomes idle. And if the channel is idle, the channel station starts transmitting and continuously monitors the channel to detect the collision. So, if the collision is detected, the station starts the collision resolution algorithm. The station resets the retransmission counters and completes the frame transmission again. So, this is what the collision detection is known as. Now, let us discuss about what is frame format. The frame format is divided into 7 subparts, which is known as preamble, SFD, the destination address, the source address, its length, data, and the CRC. Now, let's discuss briefly about each of these. First, discuss about the preamble. The Ethernet frames starts with a 7 bits preamble. This is a pattern of alternatives, zeros and ones, which indicates the starting of the frame and allows the sender and the receiver to establish the bit synchronization. Initially, the preamble was introduced to allow for the loss of a few bits due to signal delays. But today's high-speed Ethernet don't need preamble to protect the frame bits. The preamble indicates the receiver that frame is coming and allow the receiver to lock onto data stream before actual frame begins. Now, let us discuss about SFD. SFD stands for Start of Frame Delimiter. This is a 1-bit field which is always set to 10101011. SFD indicates that the upcoming bits are starting of the frame, which is the destination address. Sometimes SFD is considered as the part of preamble. This is the reason preamble is described as a 8-bit in many places. The SFD warns the station or the station that this is the last chance for synchronization. Now, let's discuss about the destination address. The destination address is a 6-byte field which contains the MAC address of the machine for which the data transmission is needed. Now, let's discuss about the source address. This is a 6-byte field which contains the MAC address of the source machine, as source address is always an individual address and the least significant bit of the first byte is always 0. The length, it is a 2-byte field which indicates the length of the entire Ethernet frame. This 16-bit field can hold the length value between 0 to 65,534, but length cannot be larger than 15,000 because of some own limitation of Ethernet. The data. This is a place where the actual data is inserted, also known as payload. Both IP header and data will be placed here if the Internet protocol is used over Ethernet. The maximum data present may be as long as 1500 bytes. In case data length is less than minimum length, that is 46 bytes, then padding 0 is added to meet the minimum possible length. Now the last one is CRC. CRC stands for Cyclic Redundancy Check. CRC is a 4-byte field. This field contains a 32-bit hash codes of data, which is generated over the destination address, source address, and the length and the data field. If the checksum computed by the destination is not same as the sent checksum value, the data received is corrupted. So this is how the frame format is described. So let's know about what is addressing. Each station on Ethernet network, such as PC, workstation or printer, has its own network interface card. The NIC fits inside the station and provides the station with a 6-byte physical address. The Ethernet address is a 6-byte, that is 48 bits, normally written in a hexadecimal notation with a colon between the bytes. Unicast, multicast, and the broadcast address. So, if a source address is always a unicast address, the frame comes from only one station. If the destination address, however, can be unicast, multicast, or broadcast. So, if the least significant bit of the first byte in a destination address is 0, the address is unicast. Otherwise, it is a multicast. A unicast destination address defines only one recipient. The relationship between the sender and the receiver is 1-to-1. A multicast destination address defines a group of addresses. It describes the relationship between the sender and the receiver into one-to-many form. The broadcast address is a special case of the multicast address. The recipients are all stations on the LAN. A broadcast destination address is a 48s1. Now, the following will be the list of some commonly used cables in 802.3 LANs. They are 10-base-5, 10-base-2, 10-base-T, and 10-base-F. So, let's briefly describe each of them. In 10-base-5, bus topology is used. The connections that are made are used to tap to a thick coaxial cable. This results in a poor connection between the computer and the coaxial cable. In 10-base-2, it is the most popular 802.3 cable because it is cheap and there was a good connection between the computer and the coaxial cable. The 10-base-T, that is, in this star topology is used. Stations are connected to a hub via 2 pairs of twisted cables. Currently, it is the most popular since it is very easy to maintain, but however, it is very expensive. The 10-base-F is preferably good for high-speed connection between the buildings. Now, let's discuss about the advantages of Ethernet 802.3. In Ethernet, all the nodes have an equivalent privileges. It does not follow client-server architecture. It doesn't require any switches or hubs. The maintenance and administration are very simple. The cable want to connect to systems in Ethernet that is strong to noise. As it is strong to the noise, the standard of the info transfer doesn't degrade. The data transfer quality is good. Now let's discuss about its disadvantages. The disadvantages of Ethernet 802.3 are: as priority packets cannot be set, it is not suitable for client-server architecture. It is an interactive application and the data is extremely small and quick data transfer is not possible. In Ethernet, there is a limit of the minimum size of the frame to 46 bytes. As a result, it is a not honest choice for interactive application. It is not suitable for traffic intensive application. In case the rate of traffic on the Ethernet goes to the efficiency of the internet, it goes down. It provides connectionless communication over the network. The receiver cannot able to send and acknowledge after receiving the packets. If there is any problem in the internet, it is very difficult to troubleshoot about what cable or node within the network causing an actual problem. So here is the list of the references that I have used for making this presentation. So yes, here we come to the end of the presentation. I hope you have understood what I have tried to explain. Thank you for your time and patience.